Hello, Sarah. Hello, everyone. I just want to introduce you to Sarah, who is our guest today, and I'm going to be asking her the questions that I am asking people. Sarah is a teacher. She's an amazing, caring person. She has so much to offer, and I'm so glad that we've got the opportunity to interview her. Now, Sarah, these are the questions that we're doing. Um, what advice would you give your teenage self if you were to go back in time and you were to say, let's say between 12 and 16, or maybe even younger, you were to advise yourself, knowing what you know now about your life, what would you tell yourself?
I was having a think about this, and I think I would tell myself just to enjoy it,
To enjoy,
to
to enjoy what?
to enjoy being young, to enjoy the time, to enjoy the experiences, and to know that, yeah, the big things when you're so young that feel so big, so don't matter, and that they're just a speck. They're
Okay.
just a speck of time that, and yeah, even though they're so important when you're young, that really in the big scheme of things, those things don't matter. So whether it's a
Like
friendship
what? Like,
or,
like, like what? Can you give us an
yeah, like a
example?
friendship or what someone might think of you, or uh, whether your parents buy you the coolest clothes, or um, the most fashionable wanted things, or all those things that seem so important when you're young, to look a certain way or be a certain way or have a certain thing. Yeah, that none of that matters. Um,
So what if
and
you
and
feel what if yourself at that age felt pressured by looking a certain way and you couldn't afford it or your parents couldn't afford it, what would you say then to
and
help manage that pressure?
yeah, I think to know, I guess, that none of that matters, and that more than likely no one else even notices. They're all so worried about what they look like and what they're doing,
That's
you know.
true.
Yeah, that they
It
don't even
is.
know that you
Yeah.
haven't got them, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
the fact of the matter is, it's interesting you said that. Most people are concerned about one thing, and it's themselves.
themselves. Yeah,
So when they look at you and everything, they may judge and make all sorts of stuff, but they're all worried about the pimple on their cheek or how
that's
they
right.
look and getting their
Yeah,
own needs met.
yeah,
So really, they don't really care. They just want
yeah,
to control you, but they're really, it's all about them.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, here's another question I have for you. What would you tell yourself to avoid as a young person that you would know as a young person, but you know now?
Um, I think to avoid trying to meet other people's expectations. So I think for me growing up, I had a lot of influence from my grandparents, and they always wanted us to do a certain thing or be a certain thing. So in terms of study or career, um, and I think when I think back now, I think that that might have stifled a lot of me becoming who I was meant to be along the way. That I thought I couldn't study this, or I couldn't do that because that wouldn't be right, or that would disappoint somebody, or yeah, or just not yeah. I was too busy trying to keep people happy, and obviously parents and grandparents have your best interests at heart.
Yeah.
You would think, but sometimes, yes, they don't know you, or they don't know what you're capable of either. So I think sometimes that can be a bit stifling.
In regards to your strengths, obviously, as a young person, everybody has strengths, they have inclinations and abilities. What would you say to yourself?
I would tell myself that I think even from the basics, like that I was beautiful, that I should have been confident, I should have known, um, that I was smart, that I was capable, that I could do anything that I put my mind to.
But how would you say I should have known? Why should you have known? Why would you know if, so let's say some young people who are watching this, they don't have encouragement, they don't have anyone tell them. So why are you saying I should have known? What advice is there?
I think schools, the way the school system is run sometimes puts people in a box. So, you're graded and you're ranked by exam marks or success in a classroom, and often not given the opportunities to study and follow the things that you want. So you might doubt because of school or because of those, whether it's HSC results or those type of things, you might all of a sudden feel like, I guess, that you failed or that you're not capable of going to university or studying this or studying that, or that you'll only be, I don't know, only be whatever. Um, Whereas later on in life, you find that if you love something enough and if you're interested enough, you'll find a way to study, you'll find a way to succeed, you'll find a way to learn, and probably enjoy it all along the way. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a teacher, and
Mm.
you come across a lot of people. Is there something that you would advise somebody in terms of emotional stuff in regards to their strengths, inclinations, and abilities when they're not able to see it for themselves because they've grown up without that sort of encouragement to discern that? What would you advise them as to how they can gain confidence in themselves in those areas so that their mental health is improved?
For young people to know that we are all so unique, that we are all created so differently for a different job and a different purpose and a different thing. And, along the way, I've come across kids who can't count, but can play a ukulele and sing at the same time. And, I love maths. I'm great at maths. Maths comes easy to me. I can't. There is no way in the world I will ever be able to play ukulele and sing at the same time. And I just think, yeah, we're wired differently. We're different. We're creative. And I just encourage kids to think about who they are. And I know that that's so hard, especially in the world we are now, but to try and tap into what is it that they love, what is it that they enjoy, what is it that they want to learn about, what is easy, and whether that's being kind to people, or being
Definitely.
thoughtful,
Yeah,
or writing poetry,
yeah,
whatever. And I think to work that out, that we have to be still. And I think that's half the problem too. And I find that every day as well, that we go, 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 go. And our minds are, we're being fed this stuff constantly, whether we're staring at a phone or we're this or we're that, that we very rarely sit still and just, breathe and think and be calm and think about, who we are and what is it that we like. Mm.
yeah. That's great. Thank you very much. And I wanted to add to that as well that sometimes when you've been hurt and you've been stifled and you're kind of mixed up, everything is inside us. God put stuff inside us about who we are and how
Mm.
to have value in ourselves, but sometimes that's really buried. But if we do come across people who sometimes will compliment us or
mm,
sometimes where we find we're doing something well. But often a lot of people are not able to take that in. So
mm,
I would recommend give yourself permission that when someone does say something
mm,
nice to you about something that you see as valid, not that they're just sucking up to you, trying to get
mm,
something out of you, to
mm,
actually let that land in you. That
mm,
if you feel, if you have an automatic thing to say no and no, whatever, no, I'm stupid or whatever,
mm,
that you have to stop that, and you have to open a space inside you where you allow that to land.
mm,
Because when you do that, that will start to grow and just think, okay, yeah, I think I do agree with that if I'm really honest with myself and forget what everyone else says. Yeah, I
mm,
am good at that. I do like it. It does come easier for me. And you know what? I am going to receive that compliment. Thank you. And
mm.
say to yourself, when you walk away, just say, I am good. Someone did like me. Someone did compliment me. There are
Yeah.
things that other people can't do that I can do. And I
Mm,
think if young people give themselves permission to that, this is hard to do. This is
mm,
what people who've been through therapy or who've learned healing and who've grown have learned to develop this and do that. Like I can do that really well now myself. But this is something that young people are weak in because nobody has told them that they've got the
mm,
power to do it and they're strong enough to do it. And it's a matter of telling themselves and giving permission for themselves. They don't actually need that permission from someone else because the
mm,
self esteem and the self confidence, all of that comes from self. And
mm,
if you can't love someone out of that, you loving yourself, then you're loving some or so called loving somebody out of manipulation, control, and it's something impure. It's only when you do it out of who you really are that it's purified and it's worth giving because it's genuine. And,
mm,
it's free. It's you're not trying to get something out of somebody or getting them to do something for you.
mm.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. The other thing I would like to ask you is what would you tell yourself? I know you touched on this as well about what you would encourage yourself to do. Is there anything else that you would tell yourself to do that you would encourage yourself?
Yeah, I was thinking about this and I thought it took me a very, very long time to stop trying to save people
Wow.
and save the world. So I tended to attract needy people, broken people, sad people, um, and didn't think about it. I didn't, I didn't think that I was obligated. I didn't think that that I had to, but I did. I wanted to help these people. I wanted to fix their situation or fix their brokenness and walk beside them.
Yeah.
And in that, I think it's like you do. You think and think that's a lovely thing to do. That's the right thing to do.
Okay.
Um, but I couldn't. Yeah, I guess it was destroying and dangerous, and I guess
So,
I was a
so
little
are
bit
you
vulnerable.
saying that you shouldn't do that? What are you? How do you?
Yeah,
How do you
I'm.
balance it out? And what exactly are you saying when people want to help and it is part of their gifting to help, like
Oh
you?
yeah, yeah. I think yeah, to help when you can and how you can, and to know your limits,
Yeah,
and to know that you've got to just give some things to God that you can't save the world, you can't do everything,
yeah,
but you can play your part. You
yeah,
can do yeah, you can do your bit,
yeah,
um, and I guess yeah, to look out for your own self
yeah.
in
That's
that
great.
as well. Yeah,
Yeah, and
because
I yeah. Go ahead. Yeah,
yeah, if you can't look after yourself and don't look after yourself, you can't look after anybody else anyway. So
yeah.
everybody misses out in
Yeah,
that way.
yeah, that's right. And,
Mm,
if you feel that you have to be obligated to help
mm,
somebody, then it's crossed the line. There are always these fine lines that are around us. And
mm,
often we cross them without realizing because it just takes just a little bit, just a little bit. And there are some
mm,
people who are dysfunctional and they just want to
Mm.
suck the life out of everybody
Yep.
around them, and they don't want people to help them. They're just used to taking, taking, taking,
Yeah.
and so crossing those fine lines, like if your gut says no, I shouldn't be doing that, it's not really helping them. I've done it a few times. I've given them money and it hasn't done any good, and they just keep coming back with the same thing. Whatever the situation
Yeah.
is to learn to listen to your internal stuff,
Mm.
because when you're helping someone and it's having a positive effect and it's actually helping to build that person or
Mm.
helping them to build themselves, then that's good. But if it's not, then it's not good. And
Yeah.
young people, we don't have, when we're young, we don't have the experience to
Yeah.
know that not to, we're allowed to stop for one thing, and we're allowed to build ourselves and look after ourselves, like what you just
Yeah.
said. Um, so yeah, so that's another thing, is put up boundaries, and when the red flags inside you start waving and something is wrong,
Mm.
and if your thought life is constantly filled with that person and meeting the needs of that person, then that's just gone too far. You've got to
Yeah.
move back, you've got to disconnect, and you've got to stop, because teaching people how to be dependent on you or on other people is not
Mm.
good, because all of us have a role to play in not only taking but giving as well.
Yeah. Yeah. We can help one another and love one another and encourage and support and um and do things together and in community for the greater good. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely those people who take and only take.
Yeah, and for young people, there's a lot of young people. I mean, you don't have wisdom, you don't have a lot of experience, and
No.
some people are so dysfunctional and broken that if you listen to them and kept helping them, it actually starts to put your life at risk. And
Yeah.
that peer pressure coming from them can actually destroy your life. It could lead
Mm.
you to the way of drugs and other types of addictions that are actually not good for you. But just because someone demands something of you and they want you to do something.
Mm.
I think young people, you have to think about, okay, do I really need to do that? Do I really want to do that and not do it? If someone wants you to smoke and you feel like, I really don't want to, I don't like it, then don't get pushed into it. When the young people don't have boundaries, then you're easily pushed. But when you have a boundary, then you have a marker saying, don't go past this. Do you know
Yes.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think for girls, for women, and very sensitive guys who have a nurturing type of nature
Mm.
anyway, that's extra important, because you can get suckered into relationships that are not good for you, that can be really destructive. And then
Mm.
for years to come, you got to untangle yourself from all that stuff, and you have to spend a lot of your time and your energy being freed from things that you shouldn't have been a part of in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I think an important thing is for people to listen to their own values and what feels right, and if something doesn't feel right, it's not right. Don't do
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
What we feel inside is important. Like for me, when I grew up, I wasn't interested in sleeping around and stuff like that, like a lot of
Mm.
people did. And so you got to follow that, which is instinctively in you. You don't have to feel forced to do something because your friends want you to, and they keep pushing you and pushing you. They're so-called friends, but they're really not friends. They're just insecure people. They just
Mm.
want to feel comfortable about doing what they're doing by
That's right.
including you into it.
Yeah.
Okay, let me have a look. What would you tell yourself about your weaknesses? Obviously, all of us have strengths and all of us have weaknesses. What would you advise yourself about that to prepare you for the future?
I think sometimes that our weaknesses can be a good thing, because
Okay.
if we identify them and work on them so that they're not weaknesses, like you need to be aware of them
Yeah.
in the first place, I
Yeah.
guess,
Yeah.
to go, I'm not very good at that. So whether it's
Okay.
that I'm not very good at saying no,
Yeah.
I'm not very good at standing up for myself
Yeah.
or speaking up when it's important.
Yeah.
Um, those kinds of things. So I think, yeah, knowing what your weaknesses are and working out working out how to avoid them becoming a problem, I guess.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, focus on your strength. So whether that is speaking with counselors or psychologists, or, doing growth, something that helps you grow in who you are.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
focusing on your strengths. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's
Mm.
good. Yeah, that's good. Thank you for that. The
Mm.
last question that I have for you is, what advice would you give a young person now, considering all of the challenges they're facing now? It's kind of a different world, but the situations are kind of similar in terms
Yeah.
that we have to learn to say no, we have to set up boundaries, we have to learn to love ourselves, all of that. What advice would you give? You're around young people all the time. What
Yeah.
would you say to someone listening to this now?
Well, yeah, I do know that it's a completely different world to what we grew up in. Um, our young people are just facing challenges left, right, and centre. That things that we wouldn't even have imagined, that we couldn't even fathom. We couldn't imagine having a phone in your pocket, let alone having now a computer in your pocket, that is causing all this chaos and strife and grief amongst our young people. And I just think for them, which was probably the same for us, is to not settle. Don't settle for what's easy, and to work for what's hard. Work through the hardship to get to where you want to be and where you need to
Yeah, I
be.
love that.
Yeah, that it's worth it. It's
Yeah,
worth it
yeah,
to
it's
not
great.
just, go, oh, and at the same time too, to not wish your life away, because
Yeah,
when we look back and you think, oh my goodness, I was 26 and I thought, oh gee, I'm getting on now. I should have my whole life in order. And then I look back from 45 and think, oh my goodness, I was a baby. What was the rush? Who cares?
yeah,
Um, yeah, but yeah, work hard for what you want. It's worth it.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
like what you said about the hard stuff, because the fact of the matter is life is hard. And
Mm,
everything, I mean, we live in a broken world where there's people that are broken and crazy, they don't do the right things and stuff like that. And everything is hard in life, but it doesn't have to be in terms of how we tackle it. So,
mm,
us not being afraid of hard things and being willing to
mm,
allow that stuff to catapult us into places of strength and heights
mm,
that we would never actually achieve or touch if we just
mm,
avoided all of that. So if they, I'm speaking to the young people now. If you think that life, when you're an adult, is easy and there are no challenges, there are no hard stuff, you're wrong. Life is hard.
mm,
Life is about sacrifice. Life is about finding things that are worth fighting for and worth living for, and grabbing those things and then making a difference in someone else's life so that they're able to be nurtured by that and to find their spot as well, where they're
mm,
able to deal with the hard stuff. So I'm glad you brought that up,
mm,
because the hard stuff really is can be really a very powerful thing and a very
mm.
precious thing, you know.
Yeah. And I think too, to not be afraid of something. Don't be frightened that you'll fail, because that's okay too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
if you start something,
yeah,
I don't know, whether it be a university course, and a year and a half in, all of a sudden you go, oh my goodness, this is not what I wanted to do, or I failed 4 out of my 6 subjects. That's okay. Either do them again or change, do something else.
yeah,
You know, head down a different path, and that's okay.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, allow yourself to fail, to try and fail, and work out what it is that you should be doing.
Yes, I like that too. And I just want to add to that too. This is one important, vital thing. Who you are is the most precious thing on the earth. It's not what you do. It's not what school you go to. It's not how you're dressed. The real value that you have, you carry inside of you. And each
mm,
one of us has that, but we're not told these things when we grow up.
mm,
That's why we're so muddled up and we don't trust our own instincts and we don't trust our own thoughts and what we like and our inclinations. But really, the treasure is really within us. It's not out in
mm,
the world. It's not in a job that pays a certain amount of money. It's not in building a company. It has to do with who you are. That's the
mm.
real treasure.
Yeah, and yeah, tapping into love, to know who you
Yeah,
are and love who you are. Mm.
yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Sarah. Really appreciate your time and sharing your information with us. Is there any last things that you would like to say before we finish off?
Thank you too. And yeah, our prayer and our hope for our young people is that they will know who they are, will know that they're loved, that they're treasured, that they're precious, and God has a perfect plan for them here. They're
Yes.
not here by mistake. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And I'll add to that as well that we love you. There are people in the world who care about you. There are people
Mm,
in the world who respect you, even though you're young. And just because you're young does not mean anything. You still are a warehouse full of treasure. And
mm,
you can do it. The world needs you. You're the next generation, and you can make each one of you can make a difference in the life, not
mm,
only in your own life, but in the lives of those around you and in the lives of everyone that you will come in contact with. You can live intentionally by deciding. And
mm.
by deciding what you want to do, by deciding how you want to think, by deciding who you are, all of that is within your reach. And we believe in you and we love you, Sarah and I.
Yeah.
So keep moving forward.
Yeah. Mm.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for that.
Thank you.